In this lesson, we're going to begin retopoing the frame. Alright, so we've spent several lessons creating our high poly mesh, and now we're ready to take all of this high resolution detail and get it ready for our game mesh. And so in order to do that, we need to create a retopoed version of this, just so that we can deal with the polygons in game. So the way I like to do this is I like to use 3ds Max's great retopoing tools. To do this, we're just simply going to go in and we're going to create a single plane right here in our left view, and just go ahead and create it. Doesn't matter how big it is right now. And I'm going to right click and I'm going to bring it up to the surface of the gun right up here, okay, just like so, and then we'll go to our left view. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and right click on that and I'm going to convert it to an editable poly. Then with this object selected, I'm going to go up to my Freeform tab under the ribbon. Now remember, if you don't have the ribbon, you need to make sure it's turned on here. So go to Freeform, Polydraw, and then the first thing that we want to do is we want to tell it that we want to draw on a surface. And so if we left click on this arrow, we can tell it to draw on surface. Now it activates this pick button. And so it's waiting for us to pick what button we want to be able to draw on, which is why we went ahead and attached all of those pieces together. Now, we're going to have a little bit of an issue here whenever we start drawing on this. We want to be careful that we're not touching these pieces here. So, whenever we attached all of those, okay, this is going to be part of that surface. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Element Mode, and I'm going to select these different elements. Now, you have to be patient with this because it can take just a little bit of time. And I want to make sure that I select all of those pieces there. So give it just a moment, trying to get orbited around here. Let's go ahead and turn off element mode and then orbit. Okay, and then I'll go back to element mode. And then I'm going to hold control and I'm going to select those pieces. Okay, and again, just be easy with it. You don't want to try going too fast. And then hold control, select those. And the reason that we're selecting these is because I want to hide them. I don't want to be drawing on those whenever I'm retopoing. So with those elements selected, all we have to do is scroll down here to the bottom and we could say hide selected. And there we go. So now let's turn off element mode. Now if we want to bring those back, all we would have to do is go to element mode and select a part of this, and then we would say unhide. Okay, and so that's going to be in your options there. Okay. Alright, so now that we've got that all set up there, we might want to do the same thing for this one. Sorry about that. So we'll select it as well, holding control to select both of those, and then scroll down in your rollouts, and we'll do hide selection. There it is. Hide selected, turn off element mode, and let's go. Alright, so now let's select our object. Let's go to Polydraw, let's pick, and then we're going to pick the frame. So now what we can do is we can start retopoing this and applying it to the surface of our model. Now I want to do a little bit of offset on this because let's go to Polydraw. You'll see my offset value here. What this does is it makes the vertices or the polygons of your new object offset of the high resolution object just a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in 0.05 on that. We'll hit enter, and then what will happen here is if I come in and I start moving these pieces around, let's go to Polydraw and extend, and with this in my left view, hit L. If you hold down Control, Shift, and Alt, this will allow you to grab the vertices of the object and you can move that around. And watch what happens is it'll snap to the surface. So let's grab all 4 of those. It'll snap to the surface, but notice how close it is. It's just above that surface there. Now let's go ahead and offset that just a little bit more. Let's do something like 0.01. And then let's hold down Shift, Control, and Alt. Left click on those vertices. Okay, and that'll snap a little bit closer to the surface, and that's pretty much right on it. The reason that I want a little bit of offset is so I can see it whenever we're working. Okay, so whenever we are retopoing, let's go ahead and cover the key keyboard shortcuts that you're going to need. The first one is going to be Shift, and I'm doing all of this under the Extend tool, and I'm going to be spending most of my time using this. Okay, so hold down Shift and then left click on an edge, and that will create a new edge or a new polygon off of that edge. Okay, so it's using Extrude. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down Control, Shift, and Alt, and that will allow me to move the individual vertices of that. So this allows me to quickly work. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Let's go ahead and hold Shift. I'm going to drag this up here. Let's hold Control, Shift, Alt, and let's move these points. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to trace out this piece right here. So I'm trying to get it as close to the surface as possible. And we're going to start pulling these polygons in a little bit just to kind of get them about the same size, okay, roughly. And then we'll come in and we'll just start to move those around, getting that shape again. Okay, do something kind of like that. Okay. And you don't have to be perfect at this point. All you have to do is really just get close, because we'll be doing a lot of moving around and getting these different shapes. Okay, I'm going to come down here along the side of this. Okay, and just continue to hold Shift and dragging these points. Control Alt Shift to move the individual vertices. Okay, so something like this. There we go. Now, if at any point that you need to remove a polygon, let's say you've accidentally grabbed one, hold down Control and then click on that polygon. That will remove it. Okay, so if any time that you need to do that, you know how to now. All right, so now let's go ahead and take these edges here and let's bring them up over the top of this. So I'm going to actually go to Perspective View and start working that way instead of in the left view, and I'm just matching up the surfaces. Okay, and I'm trying to make sure that they're in the right place and we've got a good angle on all of those. Okay, let's hold down Shift on this one. Let's pull that up just up to this point, and then I'm going to hold Shift and pull it across that surface again. Hold Control Alt Shift, and we're just trying to match these points up to the corner of that object, and then I'll just pull that in. This is going to be kind of a small polygon, but that's okay. All right, there we go. We got that. And then what we can do is we can hold down Shift, and we'll start to drag out the polygons that are going to make up the disk portion here. Now, you don't want to pull these polygons out too much to where they're losing a lot of the surface. Okay, you want to pull them out enough to where you're covering most of it, but you can cut off some of that surface here and there. Okay, and I'm going to continue on up here, and we'll straighten this up as we go. We were just trying to get polygons on the screen at this point, starting to get things connected and looking at our topology, how all that's going to work. Okay, and I'm going to go from here to here. All right, and then at any point you need to connect two pieces of topology, all you have to do is hold down Control Alt and then left click and drag from one edge to the other, and you'll see that it bridges those together. And so using this Extrude tool under our PolyDraw is extremely helpful. So now all I have to do is just come in and hold down Control Alt, and I can just start bridging these polygons together, okay, and getting the result that I want. Now at some point I'm going to have to come in and possibly do some retopology of some of this. And so it may not all come together the way that we hope. So we'll have to kind of work it out and get something working here. So I'm going to go ahead and create just a small triangle here. So I'm going to bridge from here to there. And then we have this open polygon here. We can take care of that. And actually I think I'm just going to go ahead and leave that open for right now. Let's go ahead and work on the next portion here. So hold Shift, drag that off, and realign your polygons. Okay, and then Alt Control. Set all of that up there. And then hold Shift. And notice that I'm skipping one because that makes it easy for me to come back through and hold Control Alt and then left click and drag across to bridge that. See how easy that is? Very good. Now on something like this, I don't really have anything to bridge it to, and then I would have to hold Shift, drag that out, and then get out of my PolyDraw, extrude, and then I would have to target weld. So in a case like this, what you can do is you can actually hold down Alt and then left click and drag a surf or an edge. And if the edges are touching like this, so if you have an L shape with 3 polygons like that, you can hold down Alt, left click and drag off of that, and you can bring out a new polygon. So that's very, very helpful. Okay, and then we're just going to push that down. And I'm going to try to put that back on that surface there a little bit closer. Okay, very good. And so then we come in, and I'm just going to start pulling these points out. Let's actually do this one first. Pull that one out, bridge across to there, hold Control Alt Shift, and start resetting those vertices. And then we have this one here. We can hold down Alt and drag that out. Okay. And then left click and drag on those, holding down Control Alt Shift. All right, very good. So we're making pretty good time on this so far. What I like to do is I like to take down the most complicated parts first on something like this, because I know that it's going to have to be a certain shape that goes into that. And so what I like to do is just build that first, and then I can just go from there. And it's usually easier on me for that way. Now what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll hold down Control Alt, we'll bridge from there to there. And then let's go ahead and hold Shift, we'll drag from here. And then we'll bring that point out right there. And then I'm going to hold down Alt, and I'm going to drag off of this surface. And you know what, let's hold down Control Alt and let's bridge down here to here. And then we'll pull this back here, just like so. And then I'm going to get another surface off of that. So hold down Shift, and then Control Alt Shift to reassociate that. Shift to drag that off of that face there. And there we go. Hold Control Alt, bridge that across there, redistribute those vertices, and then hold Alt, pull that down there. There we go. Okay, so there we've got that side started. So we've got these polygons started here. I'm going to go ahead and stop the video at this point. Actually, let's show you one more quick tool. This one's really cool. If I want to take this entire loop right here, instead of coming in, holding down Shift and dragging all of that out, what I can do is I can actually hold Shift Control, and that will drag out the entire loop of polygons, just like that. So see how quick and easy that was? That's awesome. All right, so now we can just come in, hold down Control Alt. We could drag those around if we need to, reassociate those, redistribute, but I think we look good right there. All right, awesome. Now at some point you're going to have to come in and target weld some points. There's just no way around it. So you'll have to back out of this by going to vertex mode, then right click and target weld from here down to here. Sometimes there's just no way out of that. You just have to deal with it. And then you'll go back to PolyDraw and extend, and then you can start the workflow right up again. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into our next lesson where we'll continue retopoing this out.